Hello everyone, welcome to Marlin Chess Kids. Today I will show you the gameplay by Andrey and Etienne, and this beautiful game complete in only 21 moves. And here you have the Queen Gambit's decline games. And let's see how the game play. The game starts with the pawn to d4, d5, c4, e6. Now the white play knight to f3, then bishop to e7, and develop another knight to c3, and now the black knight to f6, and after this bishop to f4. With this you have the idea to move the knight to b5 and attack the pawn at c7 and check the king and win the rook. So the black just go for a short castle and you save from the fall, and this is the first 5 move and the position is equal. And now if you move the knight to b5, then the black will be better because you just capture the pawn, and now if you just use the knight to take the pawn, now the black can play bishop and check the king, and this is a very sharp move. And now the king cannot escape, and if you move the knight to block it, then you have a pawn to e5, and if you capture with the bishop, and now you can bring the knight forwards, and this bishop will attack the knight and also the knight as well, and now the knight cannot capture, and here after the bishop check, the queen will be captured. So if the white just capture the rook, then the black is clearly winning, with the idea of just use the bishop and capture the knight and check. For example, bishop takes and check. Now the king cannot be moved and nothing can capture it. So if you use queen to capture and the knight capture and king capture, and after this series of actions, you can just move the knight, and you can see that the black is clearly winning in this position. So after the castling, nothing much the white can do, and in the actual game the black just move the white just continue to play with the pawn a3. After this, e6 was played, and now e3, preparing to come up another bishop. Then bishop to b7, and here the pawn just capture the d5 pawn, and now the knight just capture it back. Then knight capture it back for go for the action, and the pawn just capture it back. After this, bishop to d3, preparing for short castling, and c5 was played, and this is the first 10 move, and you can see that the white is slightly better in the position. And the game continue with the pawn to h4. With this, the black continue to play knight to d7, then the knight to g5. Here you have the idea to use the bishop to capture the pawn and check the king, or you also can use the knight to capture and attack the rook. After this, e6 was played, and here the white play a knight to h7, trying to attack the rook, and after this the rook just moved to e8, putting the knight in the h7 position, and this is a move is very interesting. And you can see after this move, the white made a great sacrifice with the first sacrifice by the bishop. Bishop takes the pawn at h6 and attack the pawn. So this is the first sacrifice, and this is a very amazing sacrifice. And with this, the black can capture it back, but you can see if you capture it's a red color, and this is a bad move for the black. It's a tactical blunder if you capture with the pawn. So the best move for here would be playing a knight to f6, trying to attack the knight. And if your knight capture, then the bishop will just capture. So if your knight capture, if you don't capture, instead like you move the king, for example you move the king to f8, then you will be mate in 7. For example, the bishop will just capture and check the king. This forces the king to capture, and after this, queen to g4, and this will be the very strong attack and check the king, and the knight control 2 square. And if your king goes back to f8, then you have the queen checkmate, or you can just have the knight checkmate. Back to this position, and if you move the king to h6, then the queen will just come to g5 and checkmate. So if you capture the knight, then the queen will just continue to go to f5 and check, and if your king go inside, then the queen will just continue to go to h7 and check. And now if you come back to f6, and you just have a beautiful queen to h6, and it will be a very nice checkmate. And the king cannot be moved. So after this move, in the actual game, the black just captured the bishop, and this will give white a clearly better position, and this is one of the positions sacrificed from the white. So after this, you have the queen to g4 and attack the king, and the pawn in the g4 has been opened up. After this, the king just moved to h8, then bishop to f8 will be a strong attack. Then the knight to g5, another brilliant sacrifice, and here the bishop just capture it, and now the pawn capture, and the rook will be active to capture the pawn and check the king. After this, the knight to f8, and the rook just capture and check the king. After this move, the king just move the king to g7. Then the queen goes to h5, controlling the square, and now the rook to h7, it will be a checkmate. And in the actual game, after this move, the black play the pawn takes the pawn, and with this, the white is winning and mate in 6. I give a couple of seconds to figure out how the continuation of the white to play and mate in 6. Well, congratulations for those who found the answer, and for those who like to enjoy the show, here are the moves. In the actual game, after this move, the white played a rook to h7 and check the king. This is a very amazing move, a brilliant another sacrifice. And if you move the kings to g8, then you have a queen capture the pawn, and it will be a simple checkmate. So therefore, the king cannot move to g8, and you use the knight to capture, and this is a brilliant sacrifice. And in this move, if white capture the knight, and this will be a draw position because the king can escape to f8, then continue escape to here. So the best way for this to play is to queen to h8, and here you have the diagonal check, and you control the square, and also this queen can control the square. So now this forces the king to move either to these two places. And if you move the king to h8, then you just have the queen to capture and it will be a checkmate. And if you move the king to g8, then here the queen will control one diagonal and you use another bishop to attack and control another diagonal. So the bishop will check. After this, the king can move to only one place, which is king to h8. And now you have a bishop to g6 and you have the open check. And now you force the king to go back to g8. And after this, queen to f7 continue to check. And now the king only able to move to f8. And here you have the queen takes f7. And this is a very brilliant checkmate. So back to this position. So back to this position, the white have the idea to go to h7 and checkmate, and this is a very strong move. So one of the possible way to play would be rook to e6, and this will be only losing a material. So after this, the white can just continue to move king to e2 and preparing to play rook to h8, and you have the triple pieces to attack the h file. And now after this, you can just use the knight to g6 to block it. And here, if you continue to check, then the king can escape to f8. And now if you continue to goes to h6 and check, then the king can just move to e8. And after this position, you can see that the white is just clearly better. And now if you want, you can just capture the knight. Then after this, the rook can just capture, or you can just capture with, if you capture with the pawn, then the rook will just capture the bishop. And at this position, the white will be going to h8 and checkmate the king. And if you use the rook to capture, the rook takes the bishop, then the rook will just continue to check, and now kings go up, then you can just capture the queen. And if you use the rook to capture the king, then the rook will just capture. And now if your bishop capture, then the pawn will just capture. And you can see after this exchange, you have the endgame with the rook and the bishop, and typically the white is still winning in the game. So as this game, one of the beautiful move after this brilliant sacrifice is with the idea of rook to h7 and check the king. And if the black can defend well, the king will just come out and bring another rook and continue to attack at the h file. And